Hello everyone, my name is Zach and welcome to On Cash Flow, where I help you become a master of your own cash flow. Now let's get started. What is the point of insurance? Well, in my opinion, the point of insurance is to protect you and your assets so that you do not go bankrupt. That is the point of insurance, the way I look at it. So what does this mean? Well, if you're in the financial independence community, if you're looking to retire early or you already are retired early, then congratulations. But if you are, then that means you're going to need some insurance in order to protect yourself. Here are some general rules that I think that you should follow when you're looking at insurance. So generally speaking, I think you should have a high deductible if you're going to have insurance. And that means that you're going to get lower premiums and you're going to have to pay more out of pocket if something were to happen where the insurance would cover it. I think that you should have the highest deductible possible that you're comfortable with paying. Now, if you're a high net worth individual, then that means you can pay a pretty high deductible, right? Because we all know that technically insurance is supposed to cover things that are very unlikely to happen. And so if that unlikely event were to happen, you would be out a lot more by paying that higher deductible, but it's going to more than make up for it, I think, in most circumstances by having such a low premium. And speaking of low premium, another really general rule that you should follow is try to get the lowest premium possible, at least at a reputable company. So you want to pretty much shop around for your insurance every time it is going to be up for renewal, up for policy renewal is what they say. So usually this is going to be like every 6 months or possibly every single year. Right before it's going to renew, you're going to want to do a little bit of shopping around, get a few more quotes, and see if someone can offer you a better deal. And that is two very general rules that I think you should follow when it comes to insurance. Now, more specifically, when we're talking about this video, I'm going to be talking about from the point of you're already financially independent. So let's say that you've already become financially independent. You're already looking to, retire early from like a traditional job. So you already have a pretty high amount of net worth. And theoretically, you could live on for a very, very long time on your assets. Okay, so this is the assumption, like the little scenario that we're going to be using here. And with that, the first type of insurance I think that you definitely need is health insurance. Okay, health insurance is probably one of the most important insurances that you can have. And the reason for that is that in the United States, the number one cause of bankruptcy is health costs, healthcare costs, because we definitely have a broken system and we don't have time to talk about that. But the number one cause of bankruptcy is, health bills. So we want to try to avoid that as much as possible. And so we're going to want to have health insurance. Now, if we're following those general rules, if you are generally healthy, if you're healthy and you pretty much don't go to the doctor, you pretty much don't go to the hospital except for maybe your annual checkups and things like that. If you're pretty healthy like that, then you should probably get a high deductible health plan that qualifies you for an HSA. And the reason for that is that you can use that HSA in order to invest more money and have a super account for your retirement. You can use it almost as the ultimate Roth IRA or as a traditional IRA. So I don't have time to explain that right now, but I do have another video that you could watch. I made a video about the HSA and the most important parts about the HSA and how it can help you get rich. So make sure you check out that video if you're interested in learning about the HSA. But I think this is a pretty good strategy to follow if you're looking for health insurance. Get a high deductible plan because you as a high net worth individual, you can afford to pay that deductible within a year. Let's say it's $10,000 in 1 year. You could afford to shell out $10,000 if you had a medical emergency, and then the health insurance would cover the rest so that you don't go bankrupt. And then you also get access to that HSA, which is a really cool benefit. And by the way, another way that you can protect your health is by hitting the like button on this video. Yes, get your finger moving on there, get some circulation going. It really does help me out, and I really do appreciate that. So please hit that like button if you're enjoying this video so far. But let's move on to number 2. And number 2 is if you drive a car, then you must have auto insurance liability. Liability insurance. So you must have liability insurance if you drive a car. First and foremost, because technically it's usually required by law, usually by state law. I think like every single state probably does this. There might be one state out there that's kind of weird, but usually it's required that if you have a vehicle that you have to have liability insurance. And actually there's 2 different kinds of liability insurance that you should have or might be required to have. And that is bodily injury liability, BIL, and property damage liability, PDL. Okay, so you need liability insurance for if you damage someone, their body, their health, and you need one if you damage their property, usually their car, but maybe their mailbox, I don't know. But yes, you're gonna need both of those. And the good news is that you can get these kinds of insurance pretty cheaply, and you're gonna want to maximize these in my opinion, especially if you have a high amount of net worth. Typically, the maximum that you're going to be offered is around $500,000 to $1 million of coverage. So let me give you my actual numbers here for an example. So I actually did max out mine. For bodily injury liability, I have $1 million of coverage, and it cost me $19.06 per month for that coverage. For property damage liability, I have $500,000, which is the maximum they let me do, and that is $13.04 per month for me. It might actually be cheaper for you, especially if you are older. So I'm actually in my 20s. Generally speaking, you have a higher amount of insurance if you're in your 20s, and so that is actually very, very cheap for me to have those maximum amounts of liability insurance. And so you should definitely consider maximizing the liability insurance on your auto insurance. Kind of similarly to that, if you own a home or you rent a home, then you should have homeowners or renters liability insurance. And the reason for that is, first and foremost, if you're a homeowner and you have a mortgage, it's usually required by the lender. You're usually required to have home insurance and also liability insurance to go along with that. And also, if you're a renter, some places actually require you to have renter's insurance. Besides that point, if you actually own your home with no mortgage, or if you're a renter that it doesn't require it by your lease, then it's optional. Okay, so it's optional for both of you. More specifically, if you are a homeowner, I think that you should definitely have at least liability insurance and possibly and probably regular insurance as well. This is a situation that applies to me. So even though I technically could afford to replace my entire house if it got destroyed or something like that, I don't want to have to pay that much amount for that amount of possibility. And so instead what I do is I follow the general rules. I have a very high deductible, and I search around for insurance every time it is due. So once a year, I search around for new insurance and see if I have the best deal. And along with that, I have the maximum amount of liability insurance that my policy offers. So right now, my policy offers $500,000 of liability insurance for my home. And I think that you should definitely consider getting the maximum amount of liability insurance for your home as well, especially if you live in a good neighborhood and you have a expensive house, because I think that's where most people are trying to get some extra money. Luckily for me, I live in a kind of a working class neighborhood with a working class looking house, and so I might be low on the list of people looking to get some money out of me. So hopefully my odds of getting sued are a little bit lower. But the good thing is for me, my insurance is actually less than $30 per month for my home because I have such a high deductible, and even though I have a maximum amount of insurance, liability insurance. So it might be some similar situation for you. Look to get a high deductible for your actual house and look to get a high amount of liability insurance. And then number 4 on this list, to add on top of those, to add on top of the auto insurance and the home insurance, what you might want to consider is what's known as umbrella insurance. And umbrella insurance is basically extra liability insurance that adds on top of those 2 existing policies, typically your auto insurance and your home insurance. But I think it can also apply to boat insurance, like if you have a boat or something like that. Those typically are what umbrella insurance is going to handle. And it's going to add additional liability insurance on top of those other policies. So if you have $1 million of auto insurance liability insurance, then whatever you get with umbrella insurance, you're going to add that on top of it. And that's going to go in excess of that first policy. So $1 million, but you actually had a $2 million settlement. The umbrella insurance is going to pay for that extra $1 million. As long as you have $1 million of umbrella insurance, which is typically the lowest amount. And that is what I have as well. And the good thing about umbrella insurance is, since that is so low, the risk of that happening, of you having to pay out such a high amount of money, is so low. Umbrella insurance is very, very cheap. So for me, I have an additional $1 million of umbrella insurance, and it might actually be overkill. Yeah, it might be overkill, but I currently do subscribe to the notion of having umbrella insurance. So for me, it is $9.32 per month for an additional $1 million. So technically, with my auto and liability insurance, I have $1 million plus the $1 million, which is $2 million. And for the homeowner's insurance, it's $500,000 plus the $1 million. So it's technically $1.5 million of coverage. And that brings us to number 5 on this list, and this is a little bit more specific, but I think that you should have business liability insurance if you have a business that has liability issues. Anytime you are giving professional advice, like in consulting, anytime you are working with any kind of machinery or renting out items or whatever, you're going to probably have liability issues if you are running a small business. And that's why if you have a business, you should have business liability insurance. Can come in many different ways. It's called commercial liability insurance, insurance or like general business liability or professional insurance. Whatever applies to your specific business, you should probably get some liability insurance. And the reason why I wanted to add this one on this list is that I think that everyone in the financial independence community should have their own business before they retire early, but also while they're actually retired. I think that everyone should have their own small business, and this doesn't have to be something crazy. This doesn't have to be some, expanding business that's going to take over the globe, right? It could be just a small business that you do on your side in your free time, something that you're pursuing as a passion. But I think that everyone in the FIRE community should have their own business. If you like to go fishing and you know all the good fishing spots where you live, then why not have someone hire you to take them to those good spots? Or maybe not to your secret spots, but to some pretty decent areas. Why not hire them, go fishing with them, and get paid to do it? It's just something small like that. So that's something that you can do in order to have your own business, and I think you definitely should. And if you do have your own business, then you definitely should have business liability insurance. And now, question for you. Did I miss anything on here? Is there some other kinds of insurance that you should definitely have if you're financially independent? What do you think about life insurance and disability insurance after you've already become financially independent? So assuming you already have a high amount of net worth and you can live the rest of your life on your investments, what do you think about like life insurance and disability insurance? I specifically left those out. So let me know in the comments below what you think. And then when you're done doing that, make sure you check out another video that I made, 5 types of insurance that are useless types of insurance that you should not have. So make sure you check out that video if you've never watched that video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Zach from OnCashflow.com. And I hope to see you next time.